Welcome to Spirited Straight Talk, the podcast to help you thrive with the help of spirit. I'm Deb Sheppard, psychic medium, spiritual teacher, and author. Each week, I bring new insights to help you heal from loss, connect with spirit, and turn setbacks into triumphs. So let's get started. Namaste. Today we are here to have a topic that I believe everyone is attached to, being truly loved. So we're going to dive into unconditional love and the different aspects of it. But I'm here with Dana, my wife, and we are here back on Spirited Straight Talk, and we are in a new studio, right?
Yeah, this is kind of, you guys, as you guys can see, we were kind of putting it together, getting used to a new space to record Spirited Straight Talk. So, yeah. But we've always been on audio, never really on camera.
Which means I have to do my hair and take a shower.
Yeah.
I do too. I'm usually in my pajamas.
I'm usually not on camera. So.
But that's all good. And it's glad to be back. We did take a pause. We had a lot going on in our life, a lot of plates spinning in the air, but I think everyone does these days. I mean, who doesn't have a lot going on? But I think it's also important that when you need to take a pause, to give yourself that grace and gratitude that it's okay to do those things.
My favorite word.
Grace. Well, maybe not, but you're learning to lean into it.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. Well, today's topic is unconditional love. And as you know, Dana, we've talked about this in our program Solutions for years.
Yeah.
And it is I believe it is one of our lessons of why we're here. When we talk about our purpose, we talk about, what are we here to learn? I believe that we come down here to earth to learn how to heal our suffering and the unintentional suffering that we perhaps cause others that we don't even realize. And sometimes I'll look back and someone said, you offended me, or you did this to me, and things like that. And we don't intend to sometimes.
Why do you think that that's our main life purpose? Because we talk about this in our
unconditional love, or I think everything comes from love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, doing some little research, I didn't realize, do you know that $27.5 billion is spent on Valentine's Day? Do you think that this world doesn't want...
They're just capitalizing on that.
Absolutely. But people do believe that love is the greatest gift of all.
Yeah.
We all want to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is why people get animals sometimes, because animals are certainly unconditional.
That, yeah.
But I think there's a lot of trauma when people have not felt loved, whether it's from the time that they were born, maybe they were the oops baby, or they were given up for adoption, or didn't feel like they were part of the family dynamics, depending on where you were born, and then the dynamics where you're in the family. Were you in the middle? We have all these ideas of, I was taking care of my siblings, or I was doing this, or I was the one forgotten. So I think there's a lot of layers to feeling truly loved.
Yeah, I know. I for sure
have experienced.
Had not experienced unconditional love.
Yeah.
I think from the time I was small all the way through life. And I know for you, same thing.
Yeah, I think ours are, of course, very different stories. I did feel a lot of love, but it was as time went on, it was much more conditional.
Okay.
If I'm going to look at it that way, I feel like, I was told I had to live a certain lifestyle, be a certain way in order to be accepted. But my definition that I teach all the students is unconditional love is being authentic to your soul and receiving love the only way they can give it.
Okay, so
go back there.
Yeah.
So what happens is that we become performers, wanting people to love us a particular way. And when we don't get what we want, we get frustrated that we do so much for somebody else, and then we don't get the results we expected. So that's conditional. Well, I've done this for them, so they should be doing this for me, right?
Which is all ego, right?
Which is all ego. So I wanted to talk the difference between ego love and unconditional love. And ego love is, I want you to love me so I feel like I'm enough. I want you to love me so I know without a doubt I'm doing the right thing. It's all about having this need from somebody else to validate us versus what is truly unconditional love. And we all want to be loved.
Yeah. Yeah, we all want to be loved. But, when you say it like that if we're feeding our ego need, we're trying to please others. So we're trying to gain love versus giving it without a condition, right? If we just are giving love without a condition, then What?
We all keep score.
We're keeping score. Yeah,
We
you're
all keep
right.
score. So our ego love was, well, I did all these things from them and I'm their child or I'm this or I'm their partner. It all is wrapped into putting conditions of our expectations.
Mhm.
So can we take those expectations out of it? And that is what's really hard because we truly believe that when we love somebody, we show it particular ways.
Mhm.
We show it by being there, being great listeners, helping the person when they're going through their hard times, and cheering them on. But what happens is sometimes we have people around us that are really critical,
Mhm.
and those critical individuals think that they're actually helping. Well,
Mhm.
I'm just doing this for you to be, you didn't know the right thing and to be a better person and receive what you really
And you
want.
have to, and you
You
should.
all those guilt words that come about it.
Yeah.
So if we can lean into these things and understand that ego love is really filling in the hole or the places in us that we don't feel like we're enough.
Right, right. It's filling our own holes versus
Absolutely.
like we're asking for somebody else to fill Fill
For us.
empty space that we have in ourselves versus loving ourselves and then being
Well, I
able to
was
give
thinking
it,
about that.
right?
There's so many things out there that talk about, well, if you don't love yourself, how can anyone else love you? And
Ugh, ugh.
yeah, I know. When I think about that, like, yeah,
That's cringe. That's crunchy.
crunchy. That's crunchy. When we look at that, though, I understand about loving ourselves, and I understand that when we feel like we're not enough, so we need those validations, that's the best advice that we get. Well, love yourself.
Right.
But then there's that whole shifting of people keep judging us and abandoning us and doing all these things that hurt us. It's really hard for us as humans
Yeah.
to love ourselves.
I think when we go through the soul contracts workshops as part of the solution program, that's one of the biggest lessons I think that people really grasp onto is that idea of people can only love you, being authentic to your soul and giving love the only way they can receive it, or receiving love the only way they can give it. Goes both ways, right?
I just was going to say, you read my mind. Are you loving somebody without conditions?
Right.
And that's where we have to really look in the mirror. So when we think about looking in the mirror, having that reflection, doing that, kind of inner work that we all talk about doing in this field, are you conditioning loving somebody else that you're only going to love them if they do these things? There's all these
Yeah.
attachments,
Yeah.
and we attach everything to it. So when we really delve into the idea of unconditional love is all about no conditions.
Mm-hmm.
We put
But how because people are jerks.
Yes, they
So
are.
how do you
100%.
how do you give love without conditions? Because our heads are so full of judgment and they're so full of, oh well, tit for tat and all
Absolutely.
that crap. So how do you see somebody? And I've been asking this for a while. So that goes back to loving awareness. How do you see somebody for their soul? How do you strip away all the crap that we carry with these human suits and really go down to seeing them for their soul so that you can love them unconditionally? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's a
Like if
simple
I think
answer.
about, tell me,
No,
what's the
it's
simple
not.
answer?
No,
Because
it's not.
I want to know.
Yeah, but you're right. First of all, let's go to the point that you and I believe that we are souls, that we come here multiple lifetimes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's why there's lifetimes of suffering that we've experienced that we're here to heal. And we are in these human suits trying to figure these things out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people are cruel.
Yes.
People do cause us suffering.
Mhm.
But at the same time, they're all trying to reach a certain destination. I'm going to say it that way.
Mhm.
But some of them are also our teachers.
I want to be enlightened.
So let's get through this.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we?
I think it's also looking at, why are we needing validation?
Yeah.
And so the first thing that we can ask ourselves is, why do I need them to accept me or love me or say that I'm okay?
Mhm.
And that's where we are looking for the outside of ourselves versus our inner selves. And I understand about loving yourself and putting yourself as a priority and doing all that inner healing work. And all of that to me is part of the equation.
Mhm.
But when you're looking at, I need my parent to love me, I
Mhm.
need my partner to love me, I need so whoever it is on that list to love me. What you're asking is for them to do something that they may not be capable of.
Yeah.
What if they're all of them inside of them is not where they can
Mhm.
truly love themselves?
And I think that's all of us walking around, and I really feel like this new project we're working on, and we talk about doing our inner work and connecting with our inner healer all the time. We're all in such pain
Mhm.
walking around because of all the trauma, all the things we've experienced, and all the examples that we've been given throughout our lives of how not to love
Right.
or how to pull away, how to build walls.
There's a lot of fear. I think people create those
Everything is fear.
they say
Yeah.
the walls are the boundaries, and I don't want to be hurt again.
Mhm.
Well, usually the person that's hurting you is also suffering.
Yeah.
And I think we don't see that.
Right.
And
We
what will
can't because we can't see past what they've done to us.
correct. And we may say, well, they're loving that person a certain way. Why can't they do that for me?
Which brings in what? Jealousy. Yeah.
So we look at layers and layers and
Layers, yeah.
layers of it. So part of this for everyone to do to think about for, you know, during this segment here is writing down, are you loving with ego or are you loving unconditionally?
Mhm.
And then looking at the person that also a soul. And someone said this to us recently when we were talking about some politics and things like that. And she said back to us, they are a soul too.
Yes.
And sometimes we forget
Yeah.
that we're all on this path trying to figure things out. And so when someone is causing you suffering, I will tell you to the depths of my soul, they are suffering as well.
Yeah.
And they're hoping with their heart that you're going to help them heal their suffering.
Yeah.
And instead, what we do is we get angry back. We build up those
We
walls. We
judge,
abandon
yeah.
them. We avoid any ability to sort of heal the situation. And I think so many times we want to be right.
Yeah.
And that goes back to our ego. We want to be right. Well, you hurt me here, so
Mhm.
I have the right to hurt you there, or you keep hurting me. And I think one of the things to think about is, can we get a new perspective? Can we look at the person that was hurting and that was causing you pain so that you can reevaluate, why are you still asking from them to give you unconditional love? Why is it that person owes you?
Uh-huh.
Why does that person is that person going to make that kind of a difference?
Right.
Doing the work I do as a medium, so many times the sessions are wanting to heal from a loved one that crossed over that never said they loved them.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you is what if they've died?
Yeah.
What if they're gone and
They're not
you
caring.
can't,
Yeah.
you
They're not
can't
ca-
heal that,
Yeah,
right?
they can't heal. So people will have a session to know if that family member, that friend, that lover really ever loved them.
Mhm.
And so that's where it's complete love on the other side. Otherwise, I wouldn't do this kind of work. But they're still navigating their stuff. They're still trying to heal the things that they caused here, their suffering. It's about us looking at, why do we need the validation? And that's where the ego comes in. Why do you need to be right? Why do you need to be validated? And I struggle with that.
Mhm.
That I've
Deb,
struggled.
why do you need to be validated?
It's human.
Yeah.
We're souls in these human suits, and that validation we want to feel that comes from our ego needs to be validated. So if we take our ego out of it, even for just a little while, and go, why do I have to be right?
Well, why am I so attached to that?
Why am I so attached to it? Why do I need their approval? Why do I need this? Why do I need it? And when we can sit down and look at that perspective and go, but what is unconditional love to you?
Mhm.
Did they love you the best way they could, even though it was not fun? And people go, well, they abused me or abandoned me or did all the things that are horrible. And I am not going to support that trauma that person experienced, or that if you experience, is right. But at the same time, how do we then begin to heal it? And how do we go deeper into looking at, what was the perpetrator? What was the person's reason for hurting you?
Hmm.
And can we still love? Ugh.
So when we talk about love, is it more finding compassion when they're a perpetrator? Because are they loving you in that moment? Or is it more they're hurting, so they're taking it out on you? So how do we
Yeah,
Because
there's
I mean, is it love or is it compassion, or like where should we go
can
in
you
that
answer that? No.
sense? I I have my viewpoint, but I'm asking you, the guru.
The other part of this is we don't have to love their actions.
Right.
We don't have to love what they say or how they treat us. That we're not saying to love and embrace that. And I know that we can go along the
Yeah.
line of
Yeah.
forgiveness, and I don't want to go into that right
No.
now, but it's not loving their action and behavior.
Mhm.
But can we find within us the love to find out what was it? What were they suffering from?
Right.
And why were you the target? And did you come here with so much love that you were able to hold that energy to love yourself enough to begin to heal? I mean, I think
Yeah.
there's so many different layers to
Layers,
this.
yeah. And if you sign the contract too with
If people
that
believe in
teacher,
reincarnation, right?
the way we believe,
Yeah.
then we have to see it that way too. Like, you is the unconditional love. Can we separate the unconditional love from their action?
The other part of this too is we talk about how we reflect things in our life, the law of attraction, how we mirror things, all these different layers of stuff. If this is the language that you use in your life, if you're judging others, if you're abandoning others, if you've hurt somebody, even years ago, why do we expect people to love us in a different way than we've treated others?
Mhm.
Are we able to ask other people that we are apologize? Even if we were hurting, can we shift our energy to say, you know what, I did these things and I am so sorry. Can we apologize? Can we look within? Because if we're asking people to love us unconditionally, can we also actively love unconditionally? And I will tell you, it's hard. I have a hard time loving people unconditionally when they're pissing me off. When they're, when it gets crunchy, it's like,
Our new
okay,
favorite word, crunchy.
crunchy. Geez. Or
Yeah.
people's perspectives or their
Mhm.
expectations, and things that come with, are we acting and showing up every single day with unconditional love? And I will tell you, I don't.
Why not, Deb?
Well, because of life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think what I want people to think about is, if you're wanting unconditional love, if you want someone to love you unconditionally, are you actively showing up every day without conditions? And I don't think
No, I don't
many
think
of
any
us
of us
can.
can.
The other thing that
Unless we're a monk, maybe, and
yeah,
we have no attachments in this world at
no
all.
irritations. I
Yeah.
think the other part of it is, to really don't look at your validation or your approval or your place in society based on someone loving you or not loving you.
Mhm.
And I want people to understand that that's the ego love of the need to be approved, versus unconditional love is truly about the other person is doing the best they can where they are on their journey with you. They're
Mhm.
very separate.
We talk about that a lot, meeting them where they are.
Meet them where they are. And sometimes it's hard to even meet ourselves where we are.
Mhm.
Are we meeting our needs where we are? And we had a class last night where someone says, I don't want to be needy. And I go, our soul has needs. And so that unconditional love feels like that's going to help us to resolve the things that our inner healer is working on. I think it's also, we talked about a little bit about loving yourself unconditionally and learning to have that inner healer. But I think it's also realizing that you don't need to be validated, and that if you keep looking for that validation, to think about, is that serving me? Is it helping me heal? Is it helping me begin to find ways to love myself again? And that healing begins with just even self talk, right? To start changing the way that we talk about ourselves and stop telling the old story, what someone did to you. That old story of what someone did to you is not helping you heal your heart, and it's not opening up for new opportunities of love and for you to see the world in a completely different perspective. So stop by telling the story, right? Turn that around. And it's hard. You and I have healed from a lot of trauma from people that we thought loved us
Mhm.
and treated us and caused trauma. So it can change and heal for sure. But we want everyone to know that if you haven't been to Spirited Straight Talk before, to check out my website, debsheppard.com. The classes and other things that we're doing together, and it's so good to be back here with you again, Miss Dana. Love you so much.